Hello everyone, today I'm going to read The Death of the Nile by Agatha Christie, Part 2, Chapter 23. Here we go. Chapter 23. Miss Burgess came out of the Dr. Besnard's cabin, smoothing her cuffs over her wrists. Jacqueline left Cornelia abruptly and accosted the hospital nurse. "How is he?" he demanded. Poirot came up in time to hear their answer. Miss Burgess was looking rather worried. "Things aren't going too badly," she said. Jacqueline cried. "You mean he's worse?" "Well, I must say I shall be relieved when we got in and can get a proper X-ray done and all things cleaned up under an aesthetic. When do you think we shall get to Shalal, Monsieur Poirot?" "Tomorrow morning." Miss Burgess pursed her lips and shook her head. "It's very unfortunate. We are doing all we can, but there's always such a danger of septicemia." Jacqueline caught Miss Burgess' arm and shook it. "Is he going to die? Is he going to die?" "Dear me, no, Miss de Barford. That is, I hope not. I'm sure the wound in itself isn't dangerous, but there's no doubt it ought to be x-rayed as soon as possible. And then, of course, poor Mr. Doyle ought to have been kept absolutely quiet today. He's had far too much worry and excitement. No wonder his temperature is rising. What with the shock of his wife's death, and one thing and another." Jacqueline relinquished her grasp of the nurse's arm and turned away. She stood leaning over the side, her back to the other one. "What I say is, we've got to hope for the best always," said Miss Bowers. "Of course. Mr. Doyle has a very strong constitution. One can see that. Probably never had a day's illness in his life, so that's in his favor. But there's no denying that this rise in temperature is a nasty sign, and..." She shook her head, adjusted her cuff once more, and moved briskly away. Jacqueline turned and walked gropingly, blinded by tears, towards her cabin. A hand below her elbow stood steadied and guided her. She looked up through the tears and found Poirot by her side. She leaned on him a little and he guided her through the cabin door. She sank down on the bed and the tears came more freely, punctuated by great shuddering sobs. He'll die. I know he'll die, and I shall have killed him. Yes, I shall have killed him." Poirot shrugged his shoulders. He shook his head a little sadly. "Mademoiselle, what is done is done. One cannot take back the accomplishment action. It is too late to regret." She cried out more vehemently. "I shall have killed him, and I love him so. I love him so." Poirot sighed. "Too much." It had been his thought long ago in the restaurant of the M building. It was his thought again now. He said hesitatingly a little, "Do not, at all events, go by what Miss Burgess says. Hospital nurse. Me. I found them always gloomy. The night nurse, always she is astonished to find her patient alive in the evening. The day nurse, always. She is surprised to find him alive in the morning. They know too much, you see, of the possibilities that may arise. When one is motoring, one might easily say to oneself, if a car came out from that crossroad, or if that lorry backed suddenly, or if the wheel came out of the car that is approaching, or if a dog jumped off the hedge onto my driving arm, bien, I should probably be killed. But one assumes, and usually rightly, that none of these things will happen, and that one will get to one's journey's end. But if, of course, one had been in an accident or seen one or more accidents, then one is inclined to take the opposite point of view. Jacqueline asked, half smiling through her tears. Are you trying to console me, Monsieur Poirot? Can't say I have any real light myself. I'm suspicious, of course. Poirot stopped. He laid an impressive hand on Race's arm. You are a great man, mon colonel. You do not say. Tell me, what is it that you think? You know that if I could speak now I would, but there is much to be cleared away first. But think for a moment along the lines that I shall indicate. There are certain points. There is a statement of Mademoiselle de Villefort that someone overheard our conversation that night in the garden at Aswan. There is a statement of Monsieur Tim Allerton as to what he heard and did on the night of the crime. There are Louis Berger's significant answers to our questions this morning. There is the fact that Madame Allerton drinks water, that her son drinks whiskey and soda, and that I drink wine. Add to that the fact of 2 bottles of nail polish and the proverbs I quoted. And finally, we came to the crux of the whole business, the fact that the pistol was wrapped up in a cheap handkerchief, and the valve was stolen and thrown overboard. Race was silent a moment or two, then he shook his head. No, he said. I don't see it. Mind, I've got a faint idea what you're driving at. But as far as I can see, it doesn't work. But yes, you are seeing only half the truth. And remember this, we must start again from the beginning, since our first conception was entirely wrong. Race made a slight grimace. I'm used to that. It often seems to me that all detective work is wiping out your false starts and beginning again. Yes, it is very true that, and it is just what some people will not do. They conceived a certain theory, and everything has to fit into that theory. If one little fact will not fit it, they throw it aside. But it is always the fact that will not fit in that as significant. All along I have realized the significance of that pistol being removed from the scene of the crime. I knew that it meant something, but what that something was, I only realized one little half hour ago. And I still don't see it. But you will. Only reflect along the lines I indicated. And now let us clean up this matter of the telegram. That is, if the Harter doctor will admit us. Dr. Besnell was still in the very bad humor. In answer to their knock, he disclosed a scowling face. What is it? Once more you wish to see my patient? But I tell you it is not wise. He was fevered. He had had more than enough excitement today. Just one question, said Race. Nothing more, I assure you. With an unwilling grunt, the doctor moved aside, and the two men entered the cabin. Dr. Besnell, growling to himself, pushed past them. I'll return in 3 minutes, he said, and then, possibly, you go. Then heard him stamping down the deck. Simon Doyle looked from one to another of them, inquiringly. Yes, he said. What is it? A very little thing, Race replied. Just now, when the steward were reporting to me, they mentioned that the Senor Rigetti had been particularly troublesome. You said that didn't surprise you, and you knew he had a bad temper, and that he had been rude to your wife over some matter of telegram. Now, can you tell me about the incident? Easily. It was a Wally Harford. We'd just come back from the second contract. Lynette thought she saw a telegram for her sticking up on the board. She'd forgotten, you see, that she wasn't called Ridgway any longer, and Rigetti and Ridgway do look rather alike when written in the atrocious handwriting. So she tore it open, couldn't make head or tail of it. Was puzzled over it when this fellow Richard came along. Fairly tore it out of her hand and gibbered with rage. She went after him to apologize, and he was frightfully rude to her about it. Grace drew a deep breath. And do you know at all, Mr. Dole, what was in that telegram? Yes, Lynette read part of it out aloud. It said, he paused. There was a commotion outside. A high-pitched voice was rapidly approaching. Where are Monsieur Poirot and Colonel Race? I must see them immediately. It is most important. I have vital information. Are they with Dr. Doyle? Bessner had not closed the door, only the curtain hung across the open doorway. Mrs. Audubon swept it to one side and entered like a tornado. Her face was suffused with color, her gait slight and steady, her command of words not quite under her control. Mr. Doyle, she said dramatically, I know who killed your wife. What? Simon started at her. So did the other two. Mrs. Audubon swept all three of them with a triumphant glance. She was happy, superbly happy. Yes, she said. My theory is completely vindicated. The deep primordial urge. It may appear impossible, fantastic, but it is the truth. The Race said sharply. Do I understand that you have evinced in your position to show who killed Mrs. Doyle? Mrs. Audubon sat down in a chair and leaned forward, nodding her head vigorously. Certainly I have. You will agree, will you not, that whoever killed Louis Burgett also killed Lynette Doyle, that the two crimes were committed by one and the same hand? Yes, said Simon impatiently. Of course, that stands to reason. Go on. Then my assertion holds. I know who killed Louis Burgett. Therefore, I know who killed Lynette Doyle. You mean you have a theory as to who killed Louis Burgett? Suggested Race. Skeptically. Okay, anyway. Suspiciously. Mr. Audubon turned on him like a tiger. No, I have exact knowledge. I saw the person with own eyes. Simon fevered, shouted out. For God's sake, start at the beginning. You know the person who killed Louis Burgett, you say? Mrs. Audubon nodded. I will tell you exactly what occurred. Yes, she was very happy, no doubt of it. This was her moment, her triumph. What of it if her books were failing to sell? If the stupid public that once had bought them and devoted them voraciously now turned to a newer favorites? Salon Audubon would once again be notorious. Her name would be in all the papers. She would be principal witness for the prosecution at the trial. She took a deep breath and opened her mouth. It was when I went down to lunch. I hardly felt like eating. All the horror of the recent tragedy. Well, I needn't go into that. Halfway down, I remembered that I had left something in my cabin. I told Rosalie to go on without me. She did. Mrs. Audubon paused a minute. The curtain across the door moved slightly as though lifted by the wind, but none of the three men noticed it. Mrs. Audubon paused. Think us to skate over here, but it must be done somehow. I had an arrangement with one of the personnel of the ship. He was to get me something I needed, but I did not wish my daughter to know of it. She's inclined to be tiresome in certain ways. Not too good, this. But she could think of something that sounded better before it came to telling the story in court. Reese's eyeballs lifted as he asked the question of Poirot. Poirot gave an infinitesimal nod. His lips formed the word, drink. The curtain across the door moved again. Between it and the door itself, something showed with a faint steel blue gleam. Mrs. Audubon continued. The arrangement was that I should go round to the stern on the deck below this, and there I should find the man waiting for me. As I went along the deck, a cabin door opened and somebody looked out. It was this girl, Louise Burgert, or whatever her name is. She seems to be expecting someone. When she saw it was me, she looked disappointed and went abruptly inside again. I didn't think anything of it, of course. I went along just as I had said I would and get the stuff from the man. I paid him and just had a word with him. Then I started back. Just as I came around the corner, I saw someone knock on the maid's door and go into the cabin, Race said. And that person was... Bang! The noise of the explosion filled the cabin. There was an acrid, sour smell of smoke. Mrs. Audubon turned slowly sideways, as though a supreme inquiry. Then her body slumped forward and she fell to the ground with a crash. From just behind her ear, the blood flowed from a round neat hole. There was a moment's stupefied silence. Then both able-bodied men jumped to their feet. The woman's body hindered their movements a little. Race bent over her while Poirot made a cat-like jump for the door and the deck. The deck was empty. On the ground, just in front of the side, lay a big Colt revolver. Poirot glanced in both directions. The deck was empty. He then sprinted towards the stern. As he rounded the corner, he ran into Tim Allerton, who was coming for tilt from the opposite direction. "What the devil was that?" cried Tim breathlessly. Poirot said sharply, "Did you miss anyone on your way here? Meet anyone? No. Then come with me." He took the young man by the arm and retraced his steps. A little crowd had assembled by now. Rosalie, Jacqueline, and Cornelia had rushed out of their cabins. More people were coming along the deck from the saloon. Ferguson, Jim Fantev, and Mrs. Allerton. Ray stood by the revolver. Poirot turned his head and said sharply to Tim Allerton, "Got any gloves in your pockets?" Tim fumbled. "Yes, I have." Poirot seized them from him, put them on, and bent to examine the revolver. Race did the same. The others watched breathlessly. Race said, "He didn't go the other way. Fantop and the Ferguson were sitting on this deck lounge. They'd have seen him. Poirot responded, "And Mr. Allerton would have met him if he'd gone aft." Races pointing to the revolver. "Rather fancy. We've seen this not so very long ago. Must make sure, though." He knocked on the door of the Pennington cabin. There was no answer. The cabin was empty. Race told the right-hand drawer of the chest and jerked it open. The revolver was gone. "Settle that," said Race. "Now then, where's Pennington himself?" They went out again on deck. Mrs. Allerton had joined the group. Poirot moved safely over to her. "Madam, take Miss Audubon with you and look after her. Her mother was being..." He consulted Race with an eye and Race nodded. "Killed." Dr. Besnard came blasting along. "God im Himmel, what is there now?" They made way for him. Race indicated the cabin. Beth now went inside. Find Penniston, said Race. Any fingerprints on that revolver? None, said Poirot. They found Penniston on the deck below. He was sitting in the little drawing room writing letters. He lifted a handsome, clean-shaven face. Anything new? He asked. Didn't you hear a shot? Why? Now you mention it, I believe I did hear a kind of a bang, but I never dreamed. Who's been shot? Mrs. Audubon. Mrs. Audubon? Penniston sounded quite astounded. Well, you do surprise me, Mrs. Audubon. She shook his head. I can't see that at all. He lowered his voice. Strikes me, gentlemen, we've got a homicidal maniac aboard. We ought to organize a defense system. Mr. Penniston, said Race, how long have you been in this room? Why, let me see. Mr. Penniston gently rubbed his chin. I should say a matter of 20 minutes or so. And you haven't left it? Why no, certainly not. He looked inquiringly at the two men. You see, Mr. Penniston, said Race, Mrs. Audubon was shot with your revolver. Okay, thank you. This is the end of the chapter 23. Okay, I think this chapter is really large. Oh my god. Okay, chapter 23 was here. Okay, from the page 285 and 298. So it's about 15 page. No, 13. It was 30 pages. Okay, this is a really busy chapter. Okay, let's look it again one by one. Okay, first, Jacqueline came into the Dr. Barner's cabin to see how the Simon was good, and he isn't bad, but he needed an X-ray. Absolutely, because he was shot. Of course, yes. And Jacqueline was worried about him. He's saying, I should die. No, he'll die. Jacqueline always say, die. I should die. I should die. I shall die. Something. Or I should kill him. I should kill him. Or she also said, I love him. I love him. He loved me too. Yeah, he's really emotional girl. She's very emotional girl. This time, she said, he'll die. He'll die. I know he'll die, and I shall have killed him. Yes, I shall have killed him. She's always repeating the same words, simple words like dying, killed. Crazy, Jacqueline. And also, Poirot remembered that the night of the when they saw the first time in a bar, and the game was in the Ashworth. Yeah, and Poirot noticed again. Remembered again her emotional inside emotional. Okay, next one. Poirot said too much. Yes, it's too much. Yeah, was a very nice lines. I love that kind of things. Pretty good. Then something has happened. Yes, and then Tim Arlington added the water he was, and the body said, yes, you're just seeing half of the truth. And something was happening here. We're talking with Mr. Doll, but this is not so important thing. But more important one is this Mr. Audubon is coming to see the Poirot race. And she said he knew the murderer because she saw the man who killed Louis Burgert, the maid of the Simon. No, maid of Mrs. Doyle. So if the murderer was the same guy, the Doyle's murderer, and this Burgert's murderer was the same, if it were same, she said she knew a murder of the dolls too. So she is starting to talk about it, and she said he's asking someone to bring something, maybe drink alcohol, I guess, because she's a crazy drunker, and her daughter threw out her water bottles, alcohol bottles out of the river because she drank too much, and she wanted the Rosalie wanted to stop her. And that makes Mrs. Otterburn to ask someone to bring her another alcohol drink. Yeah, this is the story, I guess. She didn't say that, but I can guess it easily. And Poirot also noticed that, and maybe Race there was no line of it, but Race should notice that. But anyway, she was going to tell them the murder, but before he said the exact name, he was shot. Yeah, that was a surprising part. Just here. Race said, and that person was bang. Yes, this really suddenly happened, and Mrs. Otterburn fell down and bleeds from the around the ear somewhere, and she was shot. So around the ear means he was shot from the side. So I couldn't catch their positions. So maybe the mother must shoot outside from that cabin, so from the corridor or something, and he was shot by the side. So he was looking aside to the Poirot. The Poirot was in the opposite side of that cabin, maybe. So she was shot at the ear, but no one saw it. So in that position, Poirot and Race can't see the outside of the cabin. Yes. So only Otterburn. Yeah, no. Otterburn is watching Race and Poirot, so she didn't see. So no one saw the murderer, but he was shot. She was shot. Then the two get out from the cabin immediately, and they found the revolver. Only the revolver, and there was nothing else or no one. And after a few moments, who came here? Pennington, I guess. No. Here came Tim Allerton. Yes, Tim Allerton came. So the first suspicious one is Tim, because he was in a very nearest place. But Tim seems not a murderer. His reaction is very natural. He was surprised if he's not a very good actor. And the next one is they found that the pistol was of Mr. Pennington. So, but the Pennington was also not, because he was writing in somewhere else, the cabin, maybe some kind of cabin. I forgot where, but not in his cabin, but for the other public places, to write something for 20 minutes. So he can't shot. So this thing is really maybe the same murder, but they can't see it. So we can say Poirot and Race is another murderer, of course, and Mrs. Otterburn was killed. So she's not too, and Tim Allerton is not, and if the Pennington is not, so someone else is. So I don't know. So Mr. Doyle was with them too. So Mr. Doyle isn't too. And Dr. Besson isn't too. So the other guys. So Rosalie Otterburn or someone else. Jacqueline shoot her. Jacqueline is the most suspicious girl because she has a motive to kill Lynette Doyle. Yeah, it is really nice chapter. It was fun to read. Okay. Alright. Anyway, I stopped reading here. I read 2 chapters today, and from next time I can move to chapter 24. And this book has 30 chapters and there's 6 chapters left. If I can read 2 chapters in a day when I have a time, maybe I can finish this in 3 times more. 3 days. So I hope I can end this by the end of this October. Then I can move to The Hobbit to read the next one. And then I will have 2 months to read The Hobbit. Maybe, if I am lucky, I could take enough time to read and work out The Hobbit. I think I can end The Hobbit by the end of this year. I don't know. But this recording challenge, reading aloud, is fun. I can just compare the first one and the last one at the end. Then I can see how much I improved my reading speed, reading fluency, my pronunciation, and my comprehension. To be honest, chapter 23 was easy, but chapter 22 I didn't understand much. I regretted that. Not regretting it. I'm just concerned. But it's okay. Alright, I'm sorry I talked too much today. Okay, let's finish it. Thank you for listening, and please come next time too. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.